What's going on, everybody? This Afro Think Tank. This is the day after Thanksgiving. How many of y'all woke up like this? Like, the hell? You know, you did too much, right? You know, as black folks, we don't actually celebrate white people Thanksgiving. This is just the only time of the year we black folks get together as family, right? And forget that half of us don't like each other while loving each other at the same time. But we can't live without each other, right? That's the truth. A lot of things happen while black folks was just minding our black ass business, eating all the good food. You know, been waiting all year to eat, right? We done had an attack downtown DC. You know, a daggone Afghanistani person came all the way from the West Coast, you know, and attacked some National Guard members and stuff. Very convenient at a time like this, right? Huh? Now everybody's up in arms about it. Like we don't have random people attacking law enforcement on a regular basis. But somehow this one's the most important one, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, that happened. And unfortunately, I know, right? The dog, he wants attention, right? Got neglected yesterday. Understandable, right? The lady, she passed away. Unfortunately, one of the soldiers passed away, female. Now, she wouldn't have been there if Donald Trump wouldn't have unnecessarily had our National Guard members out here in the streets unnecessarily exposing themselves for any random person that had a grievance for Donald Trump on the military. That's one, right? So those people shouldn't have never even been there in the first place. Number two, the Afghan guy that did it, right, was vetted and cleared by Donald Trump's neo-Nazi white supremacy administration, right? Keep in mind, this Muslim Afghanistan dude was cleared, A-OK, right, while he was deporting all these other people who weren't doing anything in America. Listen, I know about these daggone Afghan guys like him. I work with a lot of them. I was in charge of several of them. They're basically, to the Afghanistan people, they're traitors to their community because they basically was working for the enemy, and they were their interpreters, and they were, you know, they went along on missions and stuff with us. So I know all about these guys, right? I had a whole platoon full of these guys with me in Afghanistan, right? And, you know, they just filled in all the gaps that we couldn't fill in. As far as doing, you know, because we were like, the way we were kind of like, look, if we gonna go on the other side of the mountain and do some shit to clear this village, your ass coming too, all right? And you're gonna go first so we can see where everybody at, and then after y'all do all that, we're gonna come in there. I mean, that's how we roll out. And the thing is, I know a lot of these Afghan interpreters and the people that help America, I know they got screwed over. A lot of them got screwed over because they were promised, like, hey, you just help America. You know, you're going to get your family taken care of. We're going to take you out of America. We're going to take your entire family. Basically, the world's biggest witness protection program. And a lot of them got screwed. A lot of them, when it was time for them to go, right, they were allowed to go, but their families had to stay, right? Or their family got to go, or they had to stay. Or when it was time to get on a plane, their visas got revoked. I'm talking, they got screwed over, man. These goddamn Afghanistani interpreters and these guys like him, they got screwed over. A lot of their families got, you know, they didn't make it. And they could have made it if America would have just did their part. But America always stabs their allies in the back, man. I swear. Every time. So I can imagine why an Afghanistani man would take the opportunity to do it. But here's the thing. He traveled all the way to Washington, D.C. to do it. There's National Guard members in Washington State, wherever he's from, right? So he could have just did it up there. But he made it. It's something suspicious about this whole thing, man. It's just timing. Afghanistan, like, you know, we've been out there for a while. Like, this is something a guy like him would have probably did before. You know, but he's just randomly doing it now. Right? Now, we got one National Guard member who shouldn't have never been there. She should have been at home with her family. Right? But because she got activated by a white supremacist neo-Nazi who wanted to grandstand and play G.I. Joe, with American troops. Unfortunately, she was in a place at the wrong time with some other disenfranchised or used and abused soldier cogging the machine decided he wanted to today. That was going to be his grievance. And here's the thing. All on TV, I'm seeing everybody, oh my God, we need to do something about this. We got to stop this from happening. We got to stop that from happening. I'm like, y'all didn't give a fuck. When that white man with an AK-47 went to the CDC and shot up the place, killed the black security officer who was just doing his job, and he was supposed to be there. There was no fanfare for him. That just happened in Atlanta, right? No fanfare, no National Guard was called out. Nobody cared about the lives of that soldier, of that, not soldier, well, he might have been a veteran, but that security officer, that police officer who gave up his life because some white dude, some white racist who was programmed by the very same people who's currently controlling the president, because God knows Donald Trump ain't running shit. He ain't running shit. There's other people running it. This is goddamn Weekend at Bernie's. We've been doing weekends at Bernie's. We had Biden edition. Now we got Weekend at Bernie's, Trump edition. This shit is insane. All these movies are trash and they're not as good as the original. I swear to God. Right? But nobody had no energy for the black man that, black service officer who got killed by the white man who traveled, all right, with his AK-47 and aired out in broad daylight, aired out the CDC, killing people. Mass mania. No national outcry. You just heard about it a couple times, but now, oh God, a little white woman, she get taken. That's it. Y'all know how it is. They don't really care about white women until they can use them, until one of them get hurt, and it wasn't done by a white person, and all of a sudden, then they be like, oh my God, it's an uproar because only white men can hurt white women. And I hope the other guy live. I heard he's in critical condition too, and they shot the Afghan dude, and somehow he's still alive. I'm telling you, none of this shit makes sense. All this happened while we was minding our business Thanksgiving. A bunch of famous actors died that we scrolled through Facebook and YouTube like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't even know you was alive because they about 100,000 years old and shit. Like, all kind of just shit every day. Every day. And I know I ain't been making a lot of videos because I've been chilling. That's the good thing about being free is that you do what you want. I'm not like some of these other YouTubers. They got to come up. They got to pump out like 15 videos a day. All right, they got to keep that shit up. Me, I like to do it, but every now and then I take a break because I can do that. That's what I've been doing, but I still crank out every couple now. I'm gonna ramp it back up. It's just the holidays, the holidays. But yeah, a lot of shit been happening, But what's today? Today is Black Friday. I did all my shopping. I'm letting y'all know I was doing that shit yesterday. I got all my Christmas stuff taken care of. So come Christmas time, all the women already talking about how they not gonna cook for Christmas. Bullshit. Y'all do every year. Y'all be cooking Thanksgiving, talking about y'all be talking about y'all not gonna cook. They always do it. Every black woman said they ain't cooking for Christmas. You hear her in the background, right? They gonna do it. Y'all know how y'all women is. But anyway, y'all tell me how y'all Thanksgiving was. Mine was peaceful, quiet. I caught up on a lot of shows and did a lot of shopping, caught a lot of deals, and spent a lot of money I didn't have. So, yeah, that's what happened. That's what I was doing. I'm pretty sure the rest of y'all was doing that. But anyway, y'all tell me how y'all Thanksgiving was. Afro Think Tank, learn some, teach some. I'm out.
Well, the Trump administration is promising to crack down on Afghan immigrants after authorities identified the suspect in yesterday's mass shooting as an Afghan asylum seeker.
2 National Guards are clinging to life in hospital. 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom and 24-year-old Andrew Wolf shot just blocks from the White House. The suspect was also shot, taken down by other soldiers. Officials say Ramanullah Lakhanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan national, drove across the country from his home in Washington state, where he lived with his wife and 5 children.
There is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America.
Lakhanwal's relationship was with the CIA, trained and equipped by American operatives to fight against the Taliban. He was among the thousands of people American forces evacuated from Afghanistan after the U.S. military hastily withdrew from the war-torn country under former President Joe Biden. Lachenwall was officially granted asylum earlier this year. Following the shooting, the U.S. announced that immigration requests of Afghan nationals would be stopped indefinitely, pending a review of security vetting.
As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price.
Lachenwall is currently charged with multiple counts of assault with intent to kill. Donald Trump says he wants to pursue the death penalty if necessary. He calls this an act of terror.
How did this Afghan national, who's accused in the ambush shooting of 2 D.C. National Guard members, get into the U.S.? Authorities say 29-year-old Romanula Lachenwall acted alone when he shot 2 Guard members in what appears to be a targeted attack a few blocks from the White House in D.C. The Homeland Security Secretary now says that Lachenwall was able to get into the U.S. through a Biden-era program that helped shelter Afghans who helped the U.S. in the fight against the Taliban. You might remember these pictures from August of 2021. This was the last plane out of Kabul, Afghanistan, after President Biden ordered the withdrawal of all the U.S. forces. The U.S. government created a program called Operation Allies Welcome, designed to protect Afghans who were vulnerable after the U.S. withdrew from Afghanistan and the Taliban took over. But under this program, Afghans were only allowed in the U.S. for 2 years. It now appears Lachenwall was an exception. NBC News reports he was granted asylum in 2024 and was allowed to stay in the U.S. under a special immigrant visa because he helped U.S. forces. And family members tell NBC News that he served in the Afghan military for 10 years, fighting alongside U.S. forces. So he was a perfect candidate for this program. Our Jim Nelson went to Bellingham, Lachenwall's last known address, where family says he lived with his wife and 5 children. We'll definitely be learning more about what happened and why in the coming days because Lachenwall is in custody. The shooting in D.C. happening just a day before Thanksgiving. Just a tragedy. You have to just feel for these families, for everyone involved. These 2 service members are in critical condition as of this recording on the morning of Thanksgiving at 8 o'clock Western Pacific time. I just am thinking and praying for those families on this holiday.
Well, a day after the shooting, this is the spot here in Washington, D.C., where the 2 National Guard were hit. No longer a crime scene. The focus has moved elsewhere, and there have been significant updates through the day.
It is an ongoing investigation of terrorism. Make no mistake about it.
So what do we know about the gunman? Well, he is Romanula Lachenwall, 29 years old and from Afghanistan. He arrived in the U.S. in 2021, among thousands of others, as part of a visa scheme under former President Biden. He had worked, we're told, for the U.S. military in Afghanistan. That's not unusual. He'd also worked for a CIA-backed unit, as many did.
There is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well.
Now, he'd been living, we're told, in Washington state on the other side of the country with his wife and, the authorities think, 5 children. He'd driven all the way from Washington state to here in Washington, D.C. That's a 2-day drive in order to carry out the shooting. The investigation is ongoing into his background and, of course, the motive. Searches have been carried out at his home, items taken away too, and the trail has led the authorities to San Diego in California as well. It's not quite clear why. We've also had an update on the 2 people who were shot. They are Sarah Backstrom, 20 years old, and Andrew Wolf, 24, both from West Virginia, part of the West Virginia National Guard, deployed here to the Capitol as part of President Trump's crime-fighting drive. They were on patrol just over there when a gunman approached them and opened fire. We now know that he was carrying a Smith & Wesson revolver, a handgun capable of carrying 6 rounds. We're told he shot one of the National Guard twice before turning his weapon to the other. It was close range. He then was shot himself and is now in custody in hospital. Now, of course, behind all this is a political storm. President Trump's deployment of the National Guard has been deeply controversial and deemed unconstitutional too. It is an issue that the Trump-appointed district attorney was pushed on at the news conference.
There are people who are also upset with the president believing that the National Guard members should not even have been there if it were not for the executive order.
I don't even want to talk about whether they should have been there. We ought to kiss the ground and thank God that the president said it's time to bring in more law enforcement to make sure that a city that had the fourth highest homicide rate in the country was that violence was quelled. I'm not even going to go there.
And now, of course, on top of all that, revelations that the gunman was part of a Biden-era visa scheme, which was criticised then and is now once again. A shocking shooting, a massive political storm.
In the shadow of the White House, two brave West Virginia National Guard soldiers, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, were gunned down in cold blood. On November 26th, they patrolled the streets to protect us when an Afghan asylum seeker, which I'm not going to say his name, ambushed them without mercy. He fired point blank, then leaned into Sarah to finish the job. Sarah was just 20 years old. She died on Thanksgiving, and Andrew clings to life. This wasn't a random act. It was evil, pure, calculated murder of American heroes who volunteered to serve this country and protect you. We condemn it in the strongest terms. There is no excuse, no justification for this barbarity. The blood of these patriots stains the hands of a broken system that let this killer into our country. I have seen people mocking and laughing this violent act just as they did the Charlie Kirk murder. Sarah and Andrew weren't just soldiers. They were sons and daughters, friends, guardians of safety. Their sacrifice demands justice, not laughter. To the families, we mourn with you, and I'm sincerely sorry that you have to see, or may have to see, people mocking and making light of such a violent atrocity. Andrew, fight on. We're praying for you. And to the coward in custody, you will face the full weight of American justice because we're going to put a boot up your ass. Honor Sarah and Andrew by securing the borders even further, vetting who enters and getting individuals out who should not be here.
Breaking news on the cowardice gunman accused of shooting two National Guard members in Washington, D.C. Is 29-year-old Afghani national Ramanullah Lakhanwal allegedly screaming Allahu Akbar during the attack. Lakhanwal is an illegal migrant who came to the United States in 2021 under the Joe Biden's administration's Operation Allies Welcome and overstayed his visa. Sources said authorities are investigating the shooting as a possible act of international terrorism. FBI officials have confirmed the two West Virginia National Guardsmen remain in critical condition. The shooting happened around 2:15 p.m. and officials are calling it a targeted attack. Both soldiers were rushed to the hospital, again in critical condition. Lakhanwal was also shot when Guard members returned fire, and he is now in custody. Under Operation Allies Welcome, the Afghan evacuation program after the fall of Kabul, he entered the United States. But the pressure is now on the last administration and the current. How did a man admitted through a special entry program end up shooting U.S. service members on U.S. soil? What was missed? How many others slipped through the crack? This is an ongoing story, but it's already sparking massive debates about security vetting, the Afghan evacuation, and federal responsibility. Two National Guard soldiers are fighting for their lives. There should be no debate. Deport them all, woman, child, man, all of them, to either their country of origin or to another country they can be safe in. There's no reason they need to escape persecution by traveling to the other side of the world to the United States. Why don't we demand these other Muslim countries to take in their fellow brethren and others? I don't care.
Sad news. One of the National Guardsmen shot yesterday in Washington, D.C. 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom has died. She was ambushed while on patrol less than a mile from the White House. Around 2 p.m., she and another guardsman were on routine patrol when a gunman walked up and opened fire in what officials describe as a planned ambush-style attack. A third guardsman returned fire and brought the suspect down. According to officials, the shooter fired at the female guardswoman, took her service weapon, shot her point blank in the head, and used that same gun to shoot another guardsman in the neck before a third guardsman engaged him and took him down. Reports say the suspect was also stabbed by a guardsman as well. The shooter has been identified as a 29-year-old Afghan national who reportedly came to the U.S. in 2021 under Joe Biden. U.S. intelligence officials say that in Afghanistan, he served as a member of a partner force, part of a unit that was backed by the CIA, before eventually resettling in the United States. The female Guards member was rushed into emergency surgery but did not survive. The second Guardsman remains in critical condition. Please send your prayers up for him. Authorities say a full investigation is underway, including whether this was politically motivated or tied to his past overseas ventures. We'll keep you updated as more details come in. Be sure to keep the families of those two Guards members in your prayers tonight.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.